Okay, everybody. Oh, there we go. We are live. Welcome to another Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening Carnivore Mastermind discussion. I've got a panel of amazing carnivores with me tonight, as usual, and we're going to be discussing the topic of the week. So, that is what I asked you guys about in the poll of the week. So, we'll go ahead and pull that up first here. And so I was driving around last week and I saw this billboard, and we happened to be at a red light. And so I tried to zoom in as close as I could and take a picture because I thought this sent off all kinds of things in my brain going, wait a minute, what are you claiming here? And I just started thinking all about like what it means to be sustainable, what it means to, supplement with things, getting our nutrition from food versus supplements. We kind of talked about this a little bit in the episode about supplements a couple weeks back. So maybe this is sort of a play off of that one. But this billboard was for an algae omega-3 supplement from the company Ovega. And, they're claiming that it's more bioavailable than krill oil or fish oil supplements. And so it says, learn the fishy truth. Fish oil wastes fish. And then there's just a picture of their supplement. And so that's kind of what I wanted to ask you guys about this week. What do you think about things like that? Because there are claims, I guess there are ways to look at this, something like this, for example, that you might think on the surface, okay, well, that makes sense. Like maybe if we don't have to fish so much, that is better for the planet, right? Or that is better for the sustainability of, let's say, omega-3 supplementation. If you are on a plant-based diet and you're needing to, add that in some substantial form because you're not consuming any animal foods. And so I asked you, what do you think about this? Are plant-based supplements and foods really more sustainable in the long run? Or if more and more people start to adopt this low carb, ketovore, carnivore, proper human diet lifestyle and way of eating, can that actually support a sustainable future in terms of both healthier humans, a healthier populace, and also contribute positively to cleaning up some of the things in our environment, creating a healthier environment for the next generation? What does it actually really mean to be sustainable? And so we got 176 votes this week, and most of you voted for 64% chose the second option, which was just eat more fish and don't worry about supplementation, which is probably where I would have put myself in the vote there. And then 20% went with the bottom choice, the fourth choice, which was this is just another cricket bred scheme. So the idea behind that is kind of like, are we advertising things that we want the populace to do just so that, you guys eat the crickets down here and we'll save the meat for the people in the ivory tower type of a thing, which is my sort of take on the whole cricket bred eat the bugs thing. But then we had 13% vote for, a quality fish oil supplement is the best choice for omega-3s. And then 3% of you actually clicked on, it's true, fish oil wastes fish. So we had a little bit of a variety in answers there, but most of you are voting for, just eat the real food and don't worry about supplementing so much. A few comments down here. Darth Carnivore says, save the fish and the algae, eat more steak, which I thought was funny. Dragon of Hateful Retribution, 9041. I'll just eat more beef and less fish. Less fish deaths and less toxic load from microplastics and mercury. In the middle of a forest reminds us that, yes, fish oil does go rancid fast. And Mike Watkins said, I'm not keen on fish, beef, bacon, butter, and eggs for me. So that's kind of the results of the poll this week. And so, sustainability, what does it actually mean, Hilary? And what is it in terms of, on a personal level, this diet being sustainable for the long haul, right? To me, that's what that means. It's like, can I maintain this way of eating and stay healthy for the long term? right? And so that's just kind of a question we all have to ask ourselves individually. But then when we do look into the broader context and we look at some of the problems we have with modern agriculture, with the health of the soil, with the health of our earth, and we have a huge population of people. A lot of these people are sick or malnourished or don't get proper nutrition, and that is a problem. And so what do we do about that? And can our movement in low carb and actually be good for everybody in terms of, longevity and also the health of the planet, and cleaning up some of this stuff like the microplastics and all the junk that is in the ocean? So kind of a big topic, but I figured we could all just kind of go around and comment on one or both of those angles of this. So is carnivore sustainable? What do you think about that in terms of, your own personal way of eating, where you see yourself going? And then, if you have any comments on this as a broader, like any hope for, passing down a healthier planet or a healthy place to live for our kids, the next generation. That's something I'm concerned about as well. So we'll start clockwise. So Cammie, if you're ready, you can go first.
Okay, that is a lot of just topic, a lot of topic. So I ran some numbers for myself, and I kind of figure I eat like a pound of hamburger in the morning and a pound of hamburger in the evening. So I kind of figured I would calculate 2 pounds a day per person. And so if I'm eating 2 pounds of meat per day, that's 730 pounds a year. So I calculated it out how many different animals I would eat. You get about 4 pounds of meat from a rabbit. So I would need to eat 182 and a half rabbits every year, eating that much meat. That's not sustainable. That is just way too much butchering. It's just, rabbit meat is fine, but that would be 243 chickens. That would be 18 goats, approximately 18 sheep, approximately, but it would only be 1.65 cows. That seems a lot more doable. It would be maybe like 9 deer and maybe like close to 5 pigs. It would be, every pig is different, but that's approximate. And, then there's turkey, fish, shrimp. Like there's so many different sources. So I kind of then went and broke it down. So maybe if I did 1 cow, 1 pig, 1 deer, 5 chicken, and 1 sheep, like that's really reasonable. And that feels to me really sustainable. So if you times that out by the number of people in your family, you could source 3 cows a year. I don't know. It just feels a lot more when you like put a number on it, and that's, but if you also include milk, cheese, dairy, fat, butter, those numbers that I'm estimating may be kind of high. It may be far less that I would actually need. And you might get down to 1.5 pounds or a pound with the other stuff. So we have, I have a friend that has acreage, and she's trying to create community. And so she has land, and she's trying to explore ways to share that land and that opportunity with other people. And so one of the things that I'm doing is researching dairy sheep and meat sheep that we could maybe raise there and figure out how to kind of work with her. So maybe like we might buy the sheep and then raise them there. And part of the reason that would be good for her is because sheep and cows and animals on the land are regenerative. They're restorative. So they're going to eat all the grass, and they're actually going to make the land more productive, and they're going to make it better. So if you're doing it right, I don't see how anybody could say that raising animals harms the planet. I just was on the World Economic Forum's website, getting some truth. And, beef uses up water, guys. Those cows are drinking water, and so that is bad. But aren't they also peeing that water right back out, and it goes right back into the land? Or it's in their meat, and then we eat it, and then we pee it out. So I just don't see the problem that cows drink water. If you're doing it on your land, it just doesn't seem possible for it to be a problem. It's restorative, it's regenerative. Now, what they do in those farms, I don't understand. The big like commercial places, that seems bad. But if everybody could do their own. So I kind of wish that everybody could live on like 4 or 5 acres, have a couple cows, have a couple sheep, raise a couple chickens. You know, if we're eating eggs and dairy and doing all that stuff, I think that all of us are going to be just fine. And then if you want to plant a couple fruit trees and grow a tomato plant, at that point, if you're already working hard and doing all that stuff, I feel like you could just live forever doing that. And in fact, if we check history, people have lived sustainably doing just those things without the grocery store and all the other things being produced in factories. I don't know. So that's kind of all I thought about. But
no, that's great, and I'm glad you did the math a little bit on the side there, because that's kind of what I was thinking about too. And for me, I looked up, okay, out of a 1,200 pound cow, you're going to get approximately 500 pounds of like trimmed and deboned meat out of that after it's all said and done. And so for me, yeah, it'd be like a cow to maybe a cow and a quarter a year, which again, like you brought up, Dr. Baker talks about this quite a bit too, like how many animals it actually takes to feed a carnivore versus to, create all of these crops, which by the way, the plants drink a lot of water too. It's not just cows. So, yeah, everything alive takes things to live that we have to.
Yeah. And one more point, if you are driving through the country and you see woods, they are gorgeous and there are birds and life and greenery and it is beautiful. And then you drive by a cornfield that has been sitting over winter, like it's chopped down. That is a dead zone. There is nothing living there. There is no ecology. It is just destroyed. And that should make a vegan sad that food and manufactured food did that. It is destructive to the planet. That is not sustainable in any way.
Agreed. All right, John, you're next.
Well, how do I follow that? You did all the math, all the statistics. You did your homework, and I didn't. Sustainability, I think of two different kinds of sustainability. The ones that we're talking about tonight for sustainability for the planet, to feed all the humans if we were all eating carnivore. And then there's the sustainability of my body and the foods I eat for my health. And that's just required. That's important to me. So I will do everything I can to get at the carnivore foods. And I do believe that they are pretty sustainable. If we're eating just one cow a year, that's one animal death per person versus, as we've heard before, so many rodents and insects and little animals in the fields that are being killed by the turbines and the farmers. And it's, raping the soil and the land of all the nutrition. The amount of magnesium is gone in our soil, which in the grass it's gone, and the cows that are eating it, there's very little magnesium. We now all have to supplement because of because of what we've been doing over the last few decades. I think of chickens and eggs. Egg is the perfect, amazing human food. It has every protein, amino acid, fatty acid, vitamin, and mineral to make an entire chicken. So when we're eating that, we're getting just the right amount of cholesterol, just the right amount of everything. And we're not killing a single hen by eating an egg because they're laying the eggs. So we can get the pasture raised eggs. They're happy. They're eating the bugs and the worms on the ground, and we're getting the nutrition. So I'm all over the place with this answer, but sustainability, I think about what I eat. I eat beef, lamb. I have very little pork. And I'm eating less and less poultry because of the omega-6. But I do have pork and poultry maybe once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. Fish I love. Wild sockeye salmon, they are spawning in the rivers and streams. They're not in the oceans. The salmon that I get from Washington State, um, there's so many of them. Fish are plentiful in our ocean streams and lakes. We do have to worry about microplastics and Fukushima and all that stuff. So that's a concern. Sustainability. I think if we do it correctly as human beings, as the species on the planet, if we're going to regenerative farms and we can get away from these gigantic, slaughterhouses where they herd all the animals into one area, feed them genetically modified grain and feed and slop to fatten them up, and then kill them in a horrible way. That shouldn't be the way we're going. Hopefully, if we can just turn over and we have more and more farmland, there's fewer and fewer farms every year. And it's becoming more and more industrialized and commercialized. Unfortunately, we need to go the other way. We need to go towards regenerative farming. And this would make it more sustainable for all of the humans. Now, all the humans don't eat what we eat. If they did, I don't know, would we have enough? If everybody on the planet ate the proper human diet, would we have enough meat? That's a good question. So I'll just leave that there.
Thank you. Yeah, that is a good question. And I think, well, we'll scoot down to Christy next.
All right.
Maybe you have a thought on that
I'll
before I
just
ramble
pick
off.
right up. I'll just pick right up there where my friend John left off. So I just posted a link to a video, on, in my chat. I think it only appears on my channel. Sorry, guys. But if you guys want to pick that up, feel free to. So Peter Ballerstedt is a field agronomist, and he talks all about this stuff. The one that I posted is a link to a video he did for Low Carb Down Under called Ruminant Reality, Diet, Human Health, and the Environment. And he is the expert and, touches on all this stuff. But, he talks about how, I don't know the exact percentages, guys, but it's a very low, like 4% or something of the earth can be used to grow crops, but like 25% of the earth can be used for cattle, for grazing animals. And so, just with that alone, it's because, you can't grow crops on a hill, but like cows and sheep, for example, can live there. And he talks about how the farms that are doing it right, as John and Cami both touched on, are actually carbon sinks. So they're not actually putting more of those greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. I teach my fifth graders about the water cycle and how the water that we're currently drinking has been drunk before by hundreds of other animals and humans and whatever. So just because a cow is drinking water, that water doesn't vanish from existence. It's the same water that's been here since whatever, however old you go with that the earth is, right? And it just keeps getting recycled. So the cow is not taking some water away from some other creature, as Cami discussed, right? It's going to get peed back out, then that's going to evaporate right back into the cycle, or all of those other things that she said. So I would say that as far as sustainability for the earth goes, if we do it right, which I think most of the, unfortunately, industry right now, it isn't, but there are people that are turning things around, that are showing that it can be done. Another excellent resource on this is Zoe Harcombe. So if you don't know who Zoe Harcombe is, I did an interview with her, but so have tons of other people. And she just talks about how, if the big food companies have their way, it won't be too many more growing seasons that we have left. And they're looking at like how we can grow this stuff upside down or whatever in greenhouses without even using any soil. And then what's going to go into those plants, whatever weird chemicals they decide to put into them. I mean, it's crazy. But if we do agriculture the right way, then the cows and the sheep doing their thing on the land regenerates the soil, puts those minerals back into the soil, that have been lost. And then to touch on, sustainability for the individual, I don't think that there's another diet that's more sustainable as far as, the health goes. So, I mean, I was A, spending a lot more money, and B, not being as good of a human, eating the standard American diet that I was eating prior to doing this, because I was eating all the processed foods, and I was not feeling my best. So I was not a positive contributing member to myself, my family, my school, or my community. So I think for all of those reasons, for whatever input, that me being a teacher and a mom and a wife and all of that has, it's way more beneficial to the human beings that I interact with, on a daily basis. So
That's awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I agree with all that. And Peter Buller says my favorite. Like, I don't know.
yes,
I think his sense of humor is just spot on. Like, I enjoy. It's like that weird, dry, academic like sense of humor. So I'm like, I could
yeah,
listen to this dude all day long.
yeah.
Okay, Larry, you're next.
Yeah. So again, this is pretty much fake news that it's not sustainable. If you just look at, if the reports these guys put out, the scare reports, the scare tactics, that it's going to take 50 to 100,000 liters to make a kilogram of beef, of water, right? Well, they don't tell you that if you look at the study, they're counting every drop of rain that landed on the pasture that the cow is grazing on. It's ridiculous. That's not even, that's like, how would you count the water that rains on a place that they're not pastured on? I mean, what's that going to count for, right? So, I mean, it's just ridiculous to think that it's going to take that much water. So I would say that part, take it with a grain of salt, because it's coming from, these reports are being funded by companies that make food. And they make food, and their best interest is to make cheap food that's very profitable. Well, guess what? Beef is not cheap, and it's not very profitable compared to corn or soy. That's super profitable, super cheap, and has great shelf life. Beef does not. Beef requires refrigeration. Beef requires, several years to make a cow into a beef, where you can get a crop every year, right? So, I mean, you have to look at the machine side, the business side, and this is the industrialization of our food system that is basically killing us. Now, as far as, this is something my dad said too, and I talked to him about this. He's, well, what if everyone in the world ate steaks? Then we wouldn't, it wouldn't be sustainable. I'm like, yeah, but Dad, that's not going to happen. Right now, you can look at, even in the standard American diet, there are guidelines. The guidelines are, a certain amount of sugar, right? A certain amount of, if you were to eat the standard American diet like they say, it would still be terrible, but it wouldn't be as bad as what a lot of people just throw caution to the wind. They eat out fast food every meal, and they eat sugar and ice cream all the time and cookies all the time. They're still going to be doing that. You're not going to get like, oh, we're going to say, well, meat's the savior, so now they're all going to quit their way. We already know that, because we've seen people that tried, and we know that a small percentage are going to do this. So really, sustainability to me is a personal choice, and because this is a small movement, it's not going to get adopted nationwide, I don't think, anytime soon, or worldwide. Definitely not worldwide. I mean, if you've traveled the world, if you've gone to Africa, if you've gone to South America, if you've gone to these places, you can see that they don't eat a good meal, they would not switch over to from what they're eating now to cows, right? That's not going to happen. They're eating what they're eating because that's what's available there. And whether it's Australia or Africa or Europe, that's what they're going to eat. And we eat what's available here, which is cows, bison, deer. That's available here. If you're down in South America, you probably have more pork, that kind of stuff, or in Europe. And actually, John, like you were saying, they kill everything in those fields. The monocrop. I'm not sure if that was you saying it or someone else, but the monocrop industry will kill everything that enters that field. They have to, whether it's a bug, a vole, a mole, a snake, a songbird, they're going to kill it. And anything they don't kill manually, they're going to poison, just because they can't have it in there destroying their crop. And in Texas, I mean, a lot of places in the South, but in Texas for sure, farmers will hire us to go out at night and shoot hogs to protect their crops, not protect their cows. They don't care about we're out there killing hogs en masse. And it's, people that like to go shooting. I don't do it, but I've known a lot of people that like it. It's fun. They think it's fun. And So if you're eating food that's grown in crops, monocrops, you're supporting that industry of going out and actually they're paying you to go shoot because you're using your ammo and stuff, but you're basically going out shooting hundreds of pigs at night with suppressors and scopes. I mean, that's what they do, because if they don't, guess what? Those pigs are going to destroy that crop, and that farmer will not have that money and won't be able to sustain their business. So if you're going to eat protein bars and salads and all this stuff, and that's going to be the mainstay of your meal, and you know, soy powder or whatever you're eating, whatever that vegetable stuff is, you are supporting mass killing on a huge scale, huge. Whereas if you just get cows, like John said, or you can just do one cow, maybe two, and you can when we hunt deer, we don't just like you get tags, and the tags are based on how much food there is in the fields, determined by the state or the area, and they determine what this land can support and what the population of the deer is, and you're going to cull the herd because they're going to starve in the winter if you don't kill them. So we're putting that to good use, right? We're actually being environmentally sound. We're culling the herd, and we're taking some meat out of the pup, and we're going to eat it. We're not going to let it rot on the field. We're going to kill it and eat it. And the deer that remain are not going to starve now, right? It's very environmentally sound. It's thoughtfully approached. Same with fish. Same with fishing. They don't let people overfish areas. They used to, but I believe now that most places protect their coastlines and try to prevent that. And there's a lot of science in it. It's definitely a thoughtful thing. So it can be. And we can do the same thing, again, like we said, the topsoil being generated by the cows, and we can support the local ranchers, and it's just win-win if we do it that way. But not everyone's going to do it, and that's a false premise that what if everyone ate a steak and it wouldn't work? Well, that's never going to happen anyway. So don't worry about that. Just worry about your corner of the world and what you can do. You can't stop China from dumping trillions of tons of fly ash from their coal plants into the atmosphere. What we can do is we can do sustainable stuff here in my neighborhood, in my state, in my county, and that in my city. And that's what you got to do. So act locally, right? And think about the big picture. As far as sustainability for the diet for me, yeah, I've been on it for over a year now. I just had a big old ribeye. I got a sous vide machine, by the way. This is something I've never done before, and my third one now. It's so great. I had a ribeye that I fried up after I sous vide it, and man, it was fantastic. So, oh yeah, and then last day of normal brings up too that the deer killed by cars too, and deer, yeah, who hasn't seen that where you see a deer hit by a car, right? When there's too much deer out there, then they become a hazard too, or a nuisance, right, to us living our daily life. So yeah, a lot of stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, I grew up in Wisconsin, Northwest Wisconsin, in a small town, and so I'm, big hunting state, big fishing state, and we would always notice that, like, there'd be a lot more dead deer on the side of the road when, certain years, and if people didn't hunt as much or whatever. And so yeah, and you get tags, and you can't shoot like does that aren't old enough, or like there's things in place so that there's not just like the what am I trying to say, they can still reproduce effectively. We're not like taking all the does at once and all that kind of stuff. So it's like it's managed, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And they're very strict about it. The DNR is like, they can pull you over and check your stuff anytime. I mean, they even have power to like walk in somebody's house and be like, show me your freezer, if they think that you've taken too much or you've taken something that was too small and you were supposed to throw it back or whatever. So, between that and just like points that you've all brought up, common sense things, and starting with our own plates, our own families, our own communities, and going back to that local mentality, I think we can actually really change things over time. And it probably will take time. It'll probably take a few generations. It'll probably take, a lot of pushing back against a lot of the establishment, which is what we're seeing in kind of all corners of everything that this way of eating touches, right? From the food battles and the marketing to the pharmaceuticals. I just put up a post the other day about, these weight loss drugs. There's a new one that's, an American company that is testing and sharing encouraging test results apparently from its new injection. And so they're going to compete with, the two main billion-dollar companies that are producing these new shots, and so we talked about, is everyone going to jump on this way of eating, or are they going to continue to take the shots, or the new magic pill or whatever comes out in the next 5 to 10 years, to just fix all your problems, right? You don't have to change your diet or lifestyle. So I don't know the answer to that. I would hope that people would choose, again, maybe what's more difficult in the short term, but has the longer term benefits versus doing things like this. But unfortunately, the fact that this company's revenue has, doubled, went from 10 billion to 21 billion in a year or something like that. Like that's an indicator that many people are going to just choose that, they're going to keep choosing the easy button, that with all these side effects that we don't know what they are, like they're experimenting on us right now and we are allowing it. And so the more we continue to allow that stuff and things like this, where we, if we continue to support, and I get it, like not everybody can jump to local grass-fed overnight. Like I'm still buying meat at the grocery store, and so it's easy to talk about it and it's a little bit harder to do it, right? So I totally understand that there are steps to this, but I really do think. What happened? Mitzi mad? It's a goblin. Little Bear saw a goblin.
Oh no.
He was surprised. So, I understand that this will take time and this takes a lot of effort. But I think, yes, if we can start with ourselves, improve our health, take our health back, take our power back by becoming more independent and less dependent on all of this garbage that's being sold to us all the time, then, that's all we can do at the end of the day. So, does anybody have comments before we have a couple of comments that I'll pop up?
Well, I was just saying, I don't blame the people that take Ozempic. When I was so depressed and just out of my mind with depression, and somebody told me, I can fix you, I would have done it in a heartbeat if I thought that would work. I totally don't blame them. It's the lies that we're being told, that this is a total test and that these are the risks and they're serious. If you're not told that, then you were conned, you were lied to, and it's not fair. That's not right. But we're being lied to about the environment and our food and like every part of it. We're just not getting the truth.
Not only that, Cammie, but now that, Oprah is on the weight loss drug train, a lot of people are going to trust her and just do it because, oh, well, Oprah said it's okay. Oprah's doing it. Or, just not just Oprah, but she's the most recent one that put out that whole, special and gave up all of her Weight Watchers stuff to go do that and then tell everyone how great it is. But yeah, all celebrities, right? You hear about it all the time.
Yeah, it's scary. So I wanted to talk about that interview with
yes, that was fantastic.
So one of the things that I have been trying to figure out how to verbalize, she just said it so easy and I'm like, dang it. But that you cannot expect that vegans want to have a zero harm life, and bless their good, kind-hearted souls. And I love that they want a zero harm life, to live a life where nobody else gets harmed, but that is impossible. We are not in the Garden of Eden anymore, right? We are in a fallen state. We're not in heaven yet. You cannot live a zero harm life. It just does not exist where we're at. And I think that that's part of it, is how do we live here in the most responsible way, causing the least amount of harm, using our agency to be kind and good and loving and raise our animals well. And if you can't raise them yourself, go out and find somebody who is trying to do that. How do we use our agency to do the best job that we can? But there is no such thing as a zero harm life. And I really loved her interview. It was a beautiful interview. Everyone should go watch that one.
Yeah, and people that are peddling that, they're selling something. They are lying to you because they're stealing. They're basically making you feel good because they're selling you. They're just slick salesmen is all they are.
Yeah.
There's
Or
no
they're,
such thing.
yeah.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah, they're shunting the harm away from your eyes, and the harm is still happening somewhere else, but you
yeah.
don't know about it, so you feel fine.
Exactly. It's a shell game.
You know, kind of like this, going back to that billboard. And this is actually a different company because I was trying to find out, like, where do they get these claims from? Like, how are they saying that this is more, they're saying, you know, cutting out the fishy middleman, you know, you're going straight to the algae where fish get their omega-3s from. And so I was trying to find out, well, like, well, okay, do you have any documentation that, like, where do you get this claim from? Well, they had nothing linked at all on their website, the Ovega company, of course. So I was just looking around and I found this one, you know, which is iwi or whatever. But, you know, they sell the same type of stuff. And basically, you know, they've got a bunch of things on here about what it's good for, but they come up with this, or this was their citation. How do I share this instead? Okay. Which was this study, and I'm not a professional study reader. I'm not a statistician, but basically, I mean, the one algae that they're talking about here doesn't even have it doesn't even have DHA. It just has EPA. Okay, I'll come help you in just a sec. Okay. And you know, like the p-values, it's like it's almost negligible difference between, like, they fed these people. Anyway, I can leave a link to this if anybody wants to read it. But it's, again, it's one of those things where, okay, maybe it's, you know, 0.1% more absorbable for one of the omega-3s, you know, and it doesn't even have any DHA, it just has the EPA, you know. And so then the big claim is like, oh, it's better than a fish and animal product, you know. It's like, but we don't even know. Like, this study was, I think it was done on 10 healthy young men. That was the subject, you know, the data pool. So it's like, that's garbage, you know. Like, that doesn't tell us anything. That doesn't tell me, Neah, sitting right here, right now, that that's going to work for me. Like, I have no clue if that's a better way for me to get omega-3s or not. And why, you know, like, going back to the point, like, they're just trying to sell this. And how would I get that if I was a vegan? You know, how is that sustainable? I have to depend on a supplement company being in business, you know, doing all these things, like getting their stuff inspected, like going through all I have to depend on that to get something that's vital for my nutrition, you know, that I can't get from growing things in my own garden, or I couldn't get from any other source that I could control or create in a really healthy local context, right? I'd be getting it shipped from some pool that they're building in the desert, you know, from, you know, who knows how many diesel trucks and all this stuff, you know, carbon emissions it would take to ship it to me, you know. Like, how is that actually defined as sustainable? And that's what kind of got me on this whole thing to begin with. I'm like, does anyone else see that when they look at that billboard? You know, like, do you see, this is just a sales pitch, like, just buy my thing, because, you know, and it's based on literally garbage research, again, that doesn't tell me anything. And it's not sustainable, in my opinion. That is not a sustainable practice. Something that is more sustainable is what we're talking about right here. It's like, hey, try to support local as much as you can. Try to raise your own animals as much as you can. You know, starting with yourself and improving your own health, because you're not as much of a burden on the medical system, right? We're not using as many resources in general. As being healthier people, we're more productive. We're contributing more to our family. We're just better human beings all around when we're healthy and feeling great, right? And so that's just like, that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I'm like, oh, it just makes me angry. You know, I'm like, do people believe that? Do people drive by that sign and be like, oh, okay, let me go buy this? You know, it just,
they do.
Yeah. And
it's the same thing with the shots. And sorry, and I'll just wrap up real quick, but like,
you're fine.
I don't mean to be like judgmental towards people, but I just think that it's easy, you know, they sell it in a way that's appealing, just like with the Ozempic stuff, right? And then they tap into that vulnerability that people have because they've been fed the wrong information for so long, and they've not been told proper information about nutrition, and they've not been told that they have any real power and control over that. then they're very much more susceptible to the shot, the pill, the supplement, the whatever it might be that's supposed to magically come in and fix this, right? And then you're dependent on them, and that's the way they want it to be. And that's what grinds my gears, and that's why we're on here today.
I think they're leaning heavily on I think the plant-based push has been so strong and has gone on for so long. Now just the general public sort of equate the words plant-based with healthy. If something is plant-based, that's good, right? And I think they're capitalizing on that. And I've seen a lot of like memes recently about, it's like now Reese's peanut butter cups are putting plant-based on their packaging. If you haven't seen that, it's pretty flippin' hilarious.
That's
But
true.
why are they doing that? Why
That's
are
true.
they doing that? They're doing that because people think that, oh, plant-based is good. Like plant-based equals better. And so that means it's fine to go ahead and eat that thing, you know. I don't know anything specifically about omega-3s, but I know about, you know, all of the animal foods generally, you know, all of those forms from the animal foods are totally bioavailable to us. They don't need to be converted and things like that. And all the plant things like the vitamins and things from plants either are not available to us or have to be converted into a different form, which some of us can't even do. So I just kind of know that as a generality. I don't know how that applies to the omega-3s, but I would say that they're leaning heavily on, well, if it's from a plant, it's definitely good and healthy.
These are all additions. Add something to your life, add a supplement, add this. You need this and you need that, obviously, so they make money. But the amount of money that is made in advertising now on television, on that billboard, how much did that billboard cost, right? Add this. You need this and you have to add it. And the message is that, and people are doing that. They're constantly putting more things into their life, trying to make their life better. And it should be the opposite. We should be taking things out. All these things that we have added in are additives. They're hurting us. And if we just get our omega-3 fatty acids, our omega-6s, our protein, our mineral, everything from the food that we eat, we get everything is there. It's there for us. And there's no money in that other than buying the product. You don't see advertisements for a ribeye on the road. You don't see advertisements for this wonderful salmon on TV constantly. You'll just see Monjero and Wagovi and this supplement and that supplement. And it's just overflowing with their advertisements so they make money. And you need it. You have to have it. Your life will not be good unless you add this to your life. And the barrage on us is so repeated. It's more and more and more until eventually it does. Subliminally, it sinks in. People go and they ask the doctor for the prescription, or if it's an over-the-counter medicine, because they saw it 1,000 times, they pick it off the shelf. That's how they're making their money. And we need more of us on here to say the message that everything we need for good health, everything is in animal products. We don't need to buy a single bottle or take a single pill or a shot for anything. But
that's a fact. 100%.
I'm preaching to the choir, but
keep going. Keep
preaching. There's 1,500 vitamin manufacturing companies.
Oh my gosh!
In America, just in America.
Yeah.
And it's growing rapidly. It says. I was just looking up on using AI, right? So, and they're making huge amounts of money. And if you've ever been in any place where this is processed food. That's all. It's processed nutrient, right? Whatever it is. So it's being processed. Anytime you process, you're burning you got a footprint for a factory. You're refining, you have machines, you have heaters, you're burning a huge carbon footprint to make these pills when you could just eat a steak. And if you actually added all the carbon footprint if you're worried about that stuff, which I'm not, but if you actually did add all the carbon footprint for all the things you're taking in addition to a regular diet, and of course, like we said, the diesel used for spraying crops and all these, there's so much of a carbon footprint that it's not even close. I really believe that if raising cows on a farm in a small scale is much, much more environmentally friendly than it is to try to eat a vegan diet and also have all these factories making these things, like you said, Neah, that you depend on them now because you can't get B12 out of a stalk of celery, right? So you're gonna have to eat something, and you're not gonna eat any meat. So someone's got to make B12 for you. Got to happen, and you're gonna have to depend on a factory. And guess what? They're gonna be mining coal, or they're gonna be sucking oil out, or whatever, to make these factories run, right? And people don't realize that, they drive these electric cars and think that, oh, I'm being green. Well, guess what? Transmission lines only go 300 miles. So you have a power plant within 300 miles of you. So it's probably burning natural gas or coal most of the time. You're not always on electric. And so same with these factories. So every 300 miles, you got to have these plants all over. That's your grid. And that's what I used to do. I used to work in nuclear power before I went into computers. I was a nuclear power plant operator. I understand how this works. And I can tell you, nuclear is the green power, by the way. So if you want to really go green, you go nuclear, and then you shut down all these vitamin things, and you grow cows and raise cows and chickens and sheep, and then you eat that. That's the greenest way to go with what we have today, technology-wise. It's way greener than these solar panels and these bird-killing windmills and all this stuff you see. It's crazy.
Yeah, try living off solar power and see how you do. I tried that for 18 months. And well, I knew going in I wasn't gonna be able to do it. So I had diesel heat and wood stove and all that kind of stuff, but it's like solar works great when you have a lot of sun, but when you don't have any sun, and you don't have enough batteries and you don't have enough, inverters to change all of that into the correct voltage, then you're screwed. So you can't charge your car, and then you can't go to work, and then you can't do all, so it's, I get it. It's something, and it is sort of, but there again, like how did all the panels get made? Who makes the batteries? Who makes all the cables? How do those get made? It all takes, you can't make that from solar power. So it's like everything is made from coal anyway. So
yeah. So I have another opinion. So if you can walk away from the corporate food, right? Like, I'm not going to buy into that food. I'm going to make it all myself. And then you go start a homestead. So I want to talk about the sustainability of being a homesteader. It's really, really hard, because if you're trying to grow all your food, and I made a list one time of all the recommendations of all the little things you should eat a day. You should have some lemon in your water, ACV in your water, a little bit of this sauerkraut, a little bit of this fermented food. Like, it was like 15, 20, 30 different things that you should do every single day to get all of the stuff that you need, and make your own pasta, make your own bread, make your own cheese, make your own everything. It is a ton of work. And then you have to go out and garden, and and then you're making your own deodorant and your own everything. Like, that is just exhausting. It's hard to have a foot in all the different worlds. So I'm like stepping out of some of those worlds. Like, I do not use deodorant anymore, or buy toothpaste. There's certain things that I choose to do myself so that I'm not buying their stuff. But I love how Carnivore has freed me up from feeling like I have to grow every single thing that I want to eat myself, and make pasta and make all the things myself, because it's wonderful. I mean, like, when you live in a community where other people are doing part of the work and you can share, that's amazing. But being an expert and able to make your own in every single one of those areas is exhausting. That is not sustainable long term. You're trying to raise your kids and you're homeschooling because you care so deeply. And I don't know. What do you guys think? I think it's just really hard.
Yeah, I think you have to be realistic about it and decide what you're going to take on. And you don't have to raise cattle. You have friends that do, or in Texas, I knew a colonel that I bought cattle from, and he retired and raised cattle, and people just pitched in. We had a Facebook group, and we just buy cows, and he'd show pictures of them and stuff, and we knew they were being raised right. And then he'd tell us when they were getting processed and where to go pick them up. I mean, I don't have to raise cattle to participate in that. I don't use toothpaste anymore either, which is great. Don't have to. And my dentist thinks it's awesome. My teeth are great. And I don't use deodorant anymore because I don't have to. And I'm all about not supporting those businesses, but I will support local businesses. And I do, I do buy from the grocery store too, because realistically, our lives are busy, right? We have to do what we have to do. But I try to support the local businesses as much as I can, and the local eggs and such. I mean, and eggs, if you haven't had eggs from someone who raises chickens, you're missing out big time. Because once those chickens are eating bugs and not whatever this GMO stuff is, those eggs are just amazing. The shells are way harder to crack. And then when you get them open, everything's like super colorful in there. It's like, and it's just full of nutrients. It's got to be, I don't know if it's got to be like a factor of 10 times better as far as what's in there, I imagine. Because these things are carnivores. These chickens, man, they're carnivores. They're out eating bugs. And they make some good eggs. So, yeah, try to, you can go to farmers markets, right? That's a good option. So if you have a farmers market near you, if you don't know, go look it up, because you probably do. I have several of them here. And you can go get eggs, you can get meat, you can get a lot of stuff. You don't have to. And that's where you can actually meet a rancher, right? So if you don't know how to meet a rancher, go to a farmer's market. You'll probably meet someone who's selling meat there. So yeah, you can take action. You don't have to do it all yourself. I have a career, so I can't do homesteading. I can't. There's too much going on in my life, going to soccer games with my son and, doing my job and then YouTube channel and all this stuff. So I will support people that do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and then I do want to get to this comment here. But, I've dabbled in all kinds of stuff. I've never technically been a homesteader or had a homestead, but I've done a lot of done my own ferments, done my own sourdough, done a lot of things. I make clothes. I've dabbled in all kinds of different things, DIY and along those lines. And I would get very overwhelmed, because I'm like, well, I don't know how to make soap. So if I had to do this, I would die, I would fail. I don't know how to, and I mean, every single thing is such a skill, and it takes time to learn how to do things the right way. And then, I mean, even just what I figuring out ways to use all the tallow that's extra, in my cooking now that doesn't get consumed, making that into tallow balm, and I'm going to start making candles with it. It's this is all stuff that people did, before we had stores and you could go buy candles and you could buy lotion and all these, self-care products and stuff. They were all made from scratch, and that is all you would do all day, is from sunrise to sundown. You're working on something, you're making something, you're tending to something, and you're dealing with raising kids and all this kind of stuff. So it's a hard life to do all of that. And so yeah, I really think that simplifying it to your storage, what does Dr. Berry say, your securities on your pasture or something, or however he puts it, is true, because it's way less work to do it this way. Okay, Carnivore Communicator says, I hope you're still here. This was a comment early on. But she says, I'm struggling a bit with food boredom, but making it work with some things like making a big pancake using a blend of unflavored equip, chicken powder, and grass-fed cream. Sort of sick of meat, though. And we have a comment on that. Palate fatigue, changing it up.
I can comment about that. She's tired of meat. He or she, is it a she? It's a she. There's different kinds of meat. There's also fish. There's also eggs. You don't have to. Some people think it's just red meat, unless, I guess, if they're doing, the lion diet. There's a whole bunch of foods within the carnivore realm. I'm concerned about the blend of unflavored equipped chicken flour, because that's processed. They had to get that chicken breast and dry it out and make a flour out of it, and that was processed. I think it's okay, but it doesn't come on the earth like that. So I'm concerned about that. But she needs to just Google and look at some YouTube channels of people making wonderful carnivore foods. There's so many things you can eat other than just beef and still get all of your nutrition from animal products. And there's a lot of flavor. Or,
you know what? Sounds like a good time to fast.
Or fast.
Because guess what? When you fast for a while, all of a sudden that burger or that steak that didn't sound good will sound amazing the next day.
point. Good point.
You don't always have to eat. This is a construct. It's false. You don't have to eat 3 times a day. You don't have to eat 2 times a day.
Right.
If you're not hungry, don't eat. If nothing sounds good, listen to your body.
Yeah, I noticed that significantly when I switched to 1 meal a day. It's like I would be kind of struggling to eat that second meal a lot of times and just being like, nothing sounds good. Now I'm pumped to eat that 1 meal every day. I'm like, this is amazing. It's so good. I can eat as much as I want, and then I'm usually good for another. Sometimes I have had a couple meals, a couple of days, but most of the time I'm like perfect, hungry. And then I'm not hungry for 24 hours. Anybody else on this one?
Yeah, sometimes I just crave something cold. And so I'll do ice and raw egg and milk. And then maybe like a tiny bit of banana or something to flavor it. You could do vanilla, leave the banana out, if you're not being super strict. And then you blend that up and it tastes like a milkshake. And sometimes you do need to just kind of have something totally different. I
do that with heavy whipping cream instead of milk.
Yeah,
and I put eggs, heavy whipping cream, ice, and then I put salt in there sometimes.
Yeah, try a chocolate, the chocolate element. Oh my goodness, that tastes like a Wendy's Frosty. It is delicious. So good.
And still, that's a cheat, but that's like such a small cheat on this diet.
That's a small cheat. If that's your cheat,
if that's your cheat to get you past the boredom,
yep.
That's not bad. That's a pretty good, healthy, clean cheat.
Yep. Absolutely.
I cheated
it's
today.
An eggnog if you do egg yolks and I've made eggnog with egg yolk and heavy whipping cream and a little bit of what do you put in there? Nutmeg.
Right.
And vanilla, just a little bit, just to give it a little flavor. And it's pretty amazing. I did that for Thanksgiving. It was fantastic. I don't do it all the time. Thanksgiving was the last time I did it, but there's things you can do. You can get creative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I ate some carnivore bread today. It was a bunch of egg whites, cottage cheese, butter, and pork panko, and salt, and baked it. And then you slice it and fry it in a pan. It was one of Courtney Luna's recipes. So her channel's great. There's a guy called Carnivorous Chef. He's got a lot of recipes on his channel. And there's a ketogenic woman. She's got tons of recipes.
Well, Maria Emmeret does too. She's got tons of.
There's so many
There's
people that have good recipes. So yeah, every once in a while I'll eat something like that and be like, I'm so naughty. Okay. Mara Short, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Do you think if everyone did eat a proper human diet, then the market would shift to produce more animal products, supply and demand stuff?
Yeah. And I mean, the shift would be slow enough that the market would adapt. I mean, there may be a few years where they held back some to have more breeding stock, but they would do it. They would do it.
Yeah, I think ultimately this could be a whole nother topic, like what a free market system would do if we actually had one. But it should operate that way, right? It should be supply and demand, and people will, I think to some extent it still does work that way, where if there is a vacuum or a void in the market, somebody will come in and create a company to fill that void. And so, that's why, I go back and forth about kind of some of the, not supplements, but, like the small companies doing carnivore bars or carnivore snacks or, some of this stuff. Because on the one hand, I think, you can make it yourself pretty easily for a lot cheaper, which is some of the videos that I do to help people save money. But on the other hand, supporting stuff like that from time to time does help with just kind of getting the message out. The more we purchase stuff like that and use it from time to time, it's like, hey, what if it could be in a gas station someday? The carnivore crisps could, or something, you never know. Things could change and it could be start to become available. Cause you try to go buy beef jerky at any store. There's none that's carnivore. There's none, even original or unflavored or whatever. Even if you can find that, it's still got brown sugar. It's still got soy protein, whatever, something in it, Worcestershire, something, and there's carbs and there's junk in it. And so it's you can't even find a straight up good beef jerky, you know? So I think technically that could happen. Now, again, we have all these overarching sort of established powers that be that may interfere with the supply and demand aspect of how it should function, but we'll see what happens. Anyone else have a comment? Nope. Okay. Did anybody see any other questions here? Carne vide.
Well, we're talking
says-
about things
that
not
sounds
to be
good.
bored. I made chaffles. I hadn't done chaffles in a while, and
Yeah.
I felt like doing something different. So I took one egg in a bowl. I had some cheese, some cheddar cheese that I grated myself. I don't want to get the stuff in the bag because it has the cellulose in it. And I made it real thick and gloppy and put a tablespoon on my little chaffle maker. And I made these two really amazing chaffles. And I just ate them like a piece of bread. And all it is egg and cheese. So there's a little variety there. You can do things, and that wasn't that processed. If you think about it, it's not like that chicken powder and things like that. So more on what Larry said, you will find anything absolutely delicious when you're truly hungry, right?
Mhm.
If you're getting bored with something, that means maybe you don't want it. Your body's sending you the signal that it's not interested in that anymore, or for a while, so you fast.
Yep. And the other thing I would say is, how long have you been a carnivore? I didn't see that in there, but if you haven't been long, once you get over 100 days or 120 days, I think you start not getting bored of food at all. I mean, I don't anymore, really. Sometimes I'll have a wave of boredom over, like, I don't really feel like cooking anything right now, I'm not hungry. And that's when I just listen to my body. So yeah, I think that'll happen.
And we're so, if you haven't been carnivore for a long time, you're used to the enormous variety that they have out in the standard American diet world, all the aisles and rows and packages and colors and just everything. And you're used to satisfying whims and getting those dopamine hits from the drugs, the sugar, from the seed oils and all the sugar. So being a carnivore for a little while, your mind changes. Your brain sees that food for what it really is, which is really not food. And then the food that is true nutrition, you see it for what it's supposed to be. And then you don't look at it as, oh, I'm bored. You look at it as I'm hungry and this is nutrition. This is good for me, and I'm going to eat this. And you don't think of it in the light of I'm bored or I'm interested in food. Like, this is interesting and this is boring. We used to think that way when we ate the other food. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't think.
Yeah, I think your relationship with food just changes.
That's what it is. Yeah.
It's no longer an entertainment feature.
Exactly.
It is just like going. It's like I use this as an example. It's like if you're going to go to the gas station, you don't bring all the kids. Hey, let's go watch me pump gas, guys. And let's go over and surround the car while I'm pumping gas. It's like refueling, right? So it's just something you do so you can get to something more interesting. When I'm putting gas in the tank, we're going somewhere interesting. We're not going to the gas station because that's not a point of interest. That is just a refueling station. So when you eat, it is not a point of interest anymore. It is a refueling station. And then you go to the interesting thing. You may go for a hike. You may go fishing. You may go take pictures of birds. Whatever you do, it's something to be way more interesting than food. Trust me.
Yeah, so Lisa's saying, and I know we're past the hour, so maybe we'll take this question. And then if anybody needs to jump out at any point, now's your chance. But let's answer Lisa's question first. She says, when she eats a half ounce of liver, I'm not very hungry for anything else. So is it okay not to get all my calories in for that day? I'm intermittent fasting for 18 hours. Eating window is 6. It's getting hard. It's hard to get in all the food. So I feel like, I mean, I would say it's fine. I would say if that's your one meal and that's all you're hungry for, then just go again until you're hungry again. I mean, I know it's tempting to kind of stick within that window. Like I'm very much like that, where I'm like, oh, I'm in a 4-hour window every day and it's the same time. But
I think we need to not think about I have this amount and I have to have this many calories and I have to eat this many times a day and I have this window and that window, and we're still trying to control it.
Yeah.
And we need to just, I mean, animals don't do that in the wild. They see something, they kill it, they eat. When they're hungry, they're full, they stop, they go to sleep, they get up, they hunt, they eat. They're not counting, measuring, weighing, thinking I have to eat at a certain time and so forth. So I say to Lisa to think about it in that way. Eat when you're hungry. Eat what you want in the animal kingdom that makes you happy and is delicious. That's carnivore. And when your leptin kicks in and tells your brain that it doesn't taste good anymore, you stop eating. And don't think about, oh, I need to have the next meal at this exact point in time. Just wait until you get the signal. It's called ghrelin. It's, oh, I'm hungry. My body wants nutrition, and then eat something. And don't try not to we micromanage our own lives. We're so used to everything being micromanaged around us with our big human brains that we can control everything, and that, you know, we're still animals, and we should eat when we're hungry and stop when we're full.
I'm wondering if we should be eating liver at all, because somebody in the comments too also said that liver made them not hungry at all. Maybe that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
I never eat liver
Either
ever.
I do cod liver, and that's it, once a week.
I don't.
Yeah.
I eat eggs. Egg yolks have all the nutrients I need. So eat, if you don't like liver, eat egg yolks. Eat more egg yolks. Eat a half a dozen or something. You'll get your dose of everything you need out of that.
yeah, I've been eating like 6 to 8 egg yolks a day, and
Yeah,
I
super
can
good.
definitely tell the difference. And I do have a big chunk of liver in my freezer that I'm going to try to make some. Like if I can get them thin sliced enough and then go in the dehydrator, I think they'll be really good, and I'll like them, because I do like those ones that one company sent me.
Carnivore. Yeah. What is that called?
They
bison ones?
just rebranded as Grazely, and they have bison liver and
bison liver, Chris. They're good.
which were good.
Lisa says she
But-
loves the liver, so she likes it.
Well, if you love it, you love it. That's great. That might be
Well,
your
I wanna
body telling
do-
you need it.
I want to do a sardine fast, meaning I hate sardines, so I'm going to fast until sardines taste good. So I might have like a sweet fast.
Oh my
coming up.
gosh. How long would I have to fast before sardines tasted
A
good?
lot.
You put a can of sardines on your counter and see how long it takes for you to open it. And when you
Oh
open
my
it, you know you're ready to
gosh.
start eating again, right?
They're
Oh, no.
good. I used
Oh.
to think I used to loathe them too, and then when I became carnivore and I learned about all the small fish, the smash, salmon, mackerel, anchovy, those.
Mhm.
I get the ones in water. I open them up. They don't smell like I thought they would smell, like when I was eating the standard American diet, and they're absolutely delicious. You guys have to reach. If you didn't like them in the past, give them a try again.
I eat them.
I might literally fast. And try.
I did try them for the first time. Nope.
No? All right. I thought that way about cod liver too, and I got cod liver. It's absolutely delicious. It's creamy. It's so good for you. Maybe
After
my
going-
body wants it. Maybe your body doesn't.
Maybe,
Again,
'cause
it could be
after-
body
yeah.
sickness. Yeah.
After going carnivore, everyone was talking about sardines. I think it was right after I went carnivore,
I
and then
remember.
Dr. Boz and the whole sardine fast and all that stuff. And I was like, I at least got to try these things. I can't just say I don't like them if I never
Right.
tried them. I did a live, and another friend of mine, we ate sardines for the first time together, and
No.
nope, my cat ate the rest. My cat ate the rest of that can of sardines.
Sometimes it's just a
What
mental
about
thing.
anchovies? I love
those.
anchovies. See, I could eat and they're very similar. They got a lot of omega-3s, and sometimes I'll just put a couple of anchovies. Well, I used to. I have a jar in the pantry that I need to take out
So
again.
Carnivore has a question at 7:08 p.m.
I
about
just
her mother.
just
Yeah,
look
with-
on it here. Okay.
So my mother died of Alzheimer's, and I was there for her last 10 years were terrible. And I wish I would have known about this diet. And I think about what I would have done. So I think really easy for someone with Alzheimer's, eggs, scrambled eggs with cheese, salt, that's super easy. They will eat. If she was eating hot dogs and crackers and pudding and all this terrible stuff, but if you could just give her like eggs, that would be so nutritious. And butter. buttery eggs. You fry them eggs in butter and, scramble them or make an omelet or something. I would do a lot of that. And then ground beef's always good. I mean, that's what I would do if it was my mom. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a dietitian. Just telling you what I thought. If I had known, she would have ate different. She would not have had cookies, crackers, pudding, all this garbage daily.
Yeah.
She would have had real food, and it would have been the most nutrient dense food I could find, which I think is pretty much eggs. That is probably one of the best foods you can give them with butter.
And if she won't eat them cooked, put them in a smoothie.
There you go. Drink it up.
Drink it up. Put them in ice.
But hey, I got to go, guys. Thanks for having me.
Okay.
And I'm going to
Bye,
see
Larry.
I think I'll see almost all of you guys at KetoCon. Right? Are you-
Yeah, it's coming up.
When is it?
Right? It's the last weekend of May, first weekend of June.
Yeah. I just booked our reservation for Korean barbecue. So
Yeah.
That's pretty
I'm so
exciting. I'm
excited.
excited for
yeah,
that.
it's gonna be super fun.
Okay, I'm dropping out.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.
Bye,
Okay.
Larry.
See you later.
Bye.
So I would just add, I would second what Larry said. My dad actually died of Alzheimer's as well. And I wonder, I think about that too. I would second that with the eggs, and I would even up the yolk content. So not that it has to be all yolks, but just, I think anything with brain health, again, I'm not a doctor, but if it was my dad and I had it to do again, and I knew what I know now, anything with brain health, the more fat you can get, I think that's better. So if you can take out, if you have 5 eggs or something, I don't know, and you take out 3 of the whites or something, something like that, just to up the fat content there. My son with ADHD, he's doing the last 3-4 months, he's been doing a high fat, Carnivore, I would say, diet. And it's a night and day difference. So I think anything with brain, the higher fat is going to be better. So I would just add that.
Yeah, and that's heartbreaking.
It is.
I can't imagine, Ellie
But
saying
you have a
something is-
path now. Some things that can help. You're better off than millions and millions of other
Right.
people. So go for it. Tell us how it
Yeah.
goes. And
Keep
see
us
what you can
posted.
do. Good luck.
Yeah, and if it sounds like she's, open to it, right? You've said she's been eating, she loves hard-boiled eggs, and she's been eating some ground beef.
Cool.
So that's good. So yeah, good luck to you. That's a tough spot to be in. All right. Does anybody have any final thoughts, comments before we kind of wrap it up for tonight? Thanks everybody for being in the chat and for your questions and comments. This was a fun topic, and I feel like we all got to go on a little bit of a rant for a minute, which was nice. And then I always love a good rant. And yeah, anybody else have anything to throw in here at the end?
I just think that every topic that we talk about, or any topic that we can talk about, it often comes back to keeping it simple, and we tend to want to complicate things and overthink things. And if we just go back to the way animals eat in nature, we're an animal, and just keep it simple, eat animal products, eat a lot of eggs, a lot of egg yolks, try to get fish in there, eat when you're hungry, don't eat when you're not. It's not rocket science. We want to make it rocket science for some reason, and count and weigh and measure. And it should be simple, because we're just animals and we need to just eat like an animal. So that's my last 2 cents.
Yeah, I totally agree. Things can get so overwhelming. And when I drive past a billboard like that, then I spent the next 3 days going, what is happening? What can I do about it? And it's like, oh yeah, the same thing I do every day. Just keep doing this, try to raise my kid to, be educated about this stuff, help her make good decisions, be an example as best I can for the other people I love, and try to, be ready with good, loving, and accurate information when someone is ready to hear it. Because not everybody's ready to, be told about this, or, this or that or the other thing. But continuing to learn and being prepared to be there when someone is ready to hear about it or does want more info, I think is the best we can all do. Be the change, as they say. But okay, well, if anybody, if no one else has a comment to wrap up, then we will sign off for this evening. Thanks again to everybody watching and joining us tonight. We do this every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central, my time, depending on your time zone. You can calculate that out there, but we will be dropping another poll on my channel to make sure to look out for that and vote on that. And that will be the topic for next Thursday's discussion. So thank you all to all of my guests for joining me tonight and for all of your time and comments and your math and everything that you put together. I appreciate all of you. And we'll hopefully see you all next week. So thanks, everybody. Have
Thank
a
you.
great evening.
Have a good night.
Bye.